Welcome back to our Beatrice YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful ruffle sleeve with cuff. You can see it has these beautiful ruffles and then a cuff at the hem of the sleeve. It's a very simple tutorial and it's really beautiful as we have seen. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned till the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so this is a really beautiful and simple sleeve. Okay, it's really beautiful and simple. You don't need so much measurement. This is a satin fabric, so I'm working with my armhole measurement. My actual armhole measurement is 18. If I divide that by 2, that's going to give me 9 inches, and I'm going to add 1 inch seam allowance normally to give 10, but because I want to add just little gathers to this, I'm adding extra 1 inch or extra 2 inches. So I'll just fold my fabric with 12 inches. Okay, that's what I'm folding my fabric with. You can see the 12 inches here. So now the length that we're working with, remember this is a ruffle sleeve, so by the time we create the ruffles, it's going to jump, and it's a long sleeve. My actual long sleeve measurement is 22 inches, so I'm just going to double that. I'm going to double that to 44. Okay, depending on the amount of fabric you have to work with and how full you want this to be. So I'm just doubling mine by 2, and that's going to give me 44 inches. But you also remember that there is a cuff, so if you don't want it so full, you can subtract the cuff measurement, which is going to be about 3 inches before you double. But for me, I will just cut out the 44 inches by the 12 inches on fold that I've cut. So I'll just cut that out now. So I've cut this out now, and you can see that it's quite long. I have 24 inches by 44. This is 24 inches. By the time you put it on fold, it's going to be 12 inches, and it's by 44 inches. So I hope you understand that. So now what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and create my armhole. You can make this as an off shoulder or a regular full shoulder sleeve. Mine is going to be full shoulder, so if you're working with off shoulder, it's still the same process. So I'll just come down here by around 4 inches from my cast height, and then I'm going to draw out my armhole cuff. Okay, so I'm using a freehand cut for that, and that is the only cut that I'm going to be doing to this. So now, after cutting out my armhole, I'm not going to shape the hem of the sleeve. I'll still leave it at the 12 inches that we measured. So what you're going to use to gather it to your actual sleeve measurement is the cuff. So here I'm just going to measure around your hem. This is 9 inches, divided by 2 is 4.5. So I'm going to add 1 inch allowance to that, and that's going to leave it with 5.5 inches. So I'm going to put the leftover fabric that I have on fold. So I'll mark the 5.5 inches that I need. Okay, and I'm going to mark that by 7 inches. Remember I said I want it to be 3 inches. You need that for an inch on both sides to join it. So I'll cut this out now. So I have cut it out now, and this is what it looks like. You can see this is 5.5 inches on fold. Please measure your accurate measurement to be sure of what you have. So you can see my 5.5 inches. So now what I'm going to be using to gather this is going to be my elastic. So to do this, you can put this on fold by the wrong side, because you're going to be sewing it on the wrong side, and then you note your center fold, which is here, and then you can make a straight line. But if you know you can eyeball it, you can do that as well. So you can see I have created my center line. I just marked this one so that I can use my elastic. So I'm using this elastic, is about 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch, and that is what I'm going to use to drag this to my ruffle. So you place it under your sewing machine and you drag, then you sew. So as you sew, it's going to gather it for you. You sew it again. So I'm going to show us a little bit of that, but before then, you can decide to fix your cuff first before you ruffle, or you fix it after ruffle. I like to fix it before ruffle, because after ruffling it, it's going to shrink and become smaller, and it may be a bit difficult. So what I'm going to do now is to take this hem to the sewing machine, and then I'm going to gather all this hem to fit into this cuff that I have. So I'll do this now and bring it back to show us how we're going to ruffle it. So I've gone ahead to gather the hem into the cuff. You can see what I have here now. So the next thing is to ruffle it. Like I said, I'm going to be using elastic for mine. You can also pleat it manually, that is what you want. You can pleat it as you go, but I prefer to use elastic for this. So I'll take it to the sewing machine now. This line that I already have here is going to assist me, so I'll sew it from here, and then as I'm sewing it, I'll be stretching in the elastic to gather it for me. So I'm on the sewing machine now. What you just need to do now is to drag. You can see the elastic was formerly like this. You're going to drag it to stretch it out, and then as you drag, you sew. So you're going to be sewing along the line that you created, that center line. You drag and sew. So as you sew, you can see now that it has gathered that place for us. So I'm going to drag it and then sew again. So that is how I'm going to continue till I get to the hem. So you can see the ruffles that we are creating here as we are dragging it. So again, you're going to drag it and then you sew on it. So I'm approaching the end now, and just like I did for the beginning, again I'm going to drag and sew. I'm trying to expose that center line for myself, and when I get to the hem, I'm going to reverse the machine and then I'll cut the elastic. Okay, so now once you turn it to the other side, you will see now that it is no longer so long. Again, you can see it is now smaller, it's sizable now. So the next thing now is to gather the other side as well. Okay, so we are going to see it better on the table. That was why I transferred it. So you can see now that what we have now is smaller. You can see this is how we have now. It has been gathered to a smaller size. So to gather the other side, I'm going to put it on fold by the underarm area, and I'm going to first sew it with my seam allowance. So after sewing it, I'm going to bring it back to the table to show us how we're going to gather this side as well. Okay, so I have sewn it, you can see now. So what you just need to do is to weave this part so that it can be neat before you ruffle. So now again, just like I did for the center point on this part where I sew, you can do it on your seam allowance as well. You can just do it on this line that you sew on. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine again, and then I'll start sewing from here. So after sewing, I'm going to drag just like I did for the first one, and then sew so that it can gather this side for me as well. So the underarm is gathered as well, and you can see now that it is also smaller. So now I'm going to turn it to the right side so that we can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the right side. I'm going to bring out my cuff, and then we will see. So you can see all of the ruffles that we have here, as well as the underarm area. So now if you added extra to your measurements on the upper part here, remember you're still going to gather it back to fit into the actual armhole measurements you're working with. So I'll take this to the mannequin now so that we can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what our sleeve looks like. You can see all those ruffles that we have there, and this is what the cuff looks like. So you can just drop the cuff a bit to rest, the puff to rest a little bit on the cuff, or however you want it to be. So this is what it looks like in full view. You can see how beautiful it looks and how simple it is to make. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.